In this video, I'm going to show you how we can apply some validation to a certain field. In this case, what we're going to do is apply validation to the invoice date in AP Unapproved Invoice so that we can't enter in an invoice that's too far into the future. So right now, if I enter in January 1st, 2029, it allows it, I can save it, it's clearly incorrect, and we want to prevent that from happening. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into the UD user validation table, and we're going to go USP. So just first note here, if I enter an ASDF, it's going to add in USP since all these need to have USP. So if you don't put it in, it's going to put it in there for you. So let's put in USP AP INVDAT invoice date, and we'll say invoice date validation. Okay, and we'll save that. So now we need to tell it what table this validation procedure is going to pull information from. So to find that information, I need to go over to the table where I'm going to apply that validation, go to the field, and I can hit field properties, or I can hit F3. And it's going to pull up the field properties table here, and it's going to show me the table I need to put to reference is AP UI. So I'll go hit F4 here, AP UI, and hit enter. The error message that I want to show if the invoice date is later than I want to allow will be invoice date error. Okay. Okay, so then under the parameters, what I need to do is I need to make this invoice date a parameter, and then I can pass that parameter through to a query that's then going to run the validation and see if that's not what I want to allow. So in table name, I go F4. In F4 here, there's the table that I entered under the list of tables. Hit enter, and again, I'm going to have a parameter here so that I can feed that invoice date information into the parameter. Hit F4. Now INV date, invoice date is the date that I want. And again, if you don't know what that is, you can come back here, or if it's not really intuitive, like it kind of is in this case, you just hit F3 again, and it will show you the column name, INV date, right there. Okay, so then I want this to be less than a certain value. And so for right now, let's just call this 1234. Okay, I just want to show you what this does, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. Okay, so all the information we're entering in under this table name, the parameters, the operators, the values, the table, the error message, all that's doing is allowing us to use this initialized procedure that basically creates the SQL query for us. So if I hit initialize, now there's my SQL code. Theoretically, I could create this. I could manually write this all in, and it would still work. But this is just a much faster way of doing this for us. Let's just read through this really quickly and see what's going on here. So the first thing is it's creating parameters. So that's what this @ sign means. That's a parameter. So INV date is just something we're going to pass a value to, and same with add message. So down here it says if invoice date, the parameter that we pass in there, so whatever someone enters in here in the invoice date when they're entering in the AP invoice, that is going to be passed through as a parameter, so we can apply this operator less than and see if it's less than whatever value we put in there. Okay, so it's saying if what you put in here as the parameter is less than this, then do this right here. So then it's going to say, well, provide this message, and the message is going to be nothing. It's null, no message, because we're good to go, because the invoice date happens to be less than that amount. Okay. However, if the invoice date is not, if it's greater than or equal to whatever we put in here, then it's going to provide us with this add message and this error message that we entered in, invoice date error. Okay. So if this logic doesn't apply, then this error message comes up. All right, so let's go back to make this an actual proper number here. So we'll go back to parameters. Now, what I want to do in this case is I want to say, let's make sure that the invoice date is less than today. Let's start with that. So to do that, we're going to put in a SQL formula or function called getDate, and I'll save that. And now we can go back to SQL, hit initialize again, and it's going to give us a getDate function. And what that does, it says if the invoice date, again, whatever we put in here, is less than today, then we're good to go. If it's today or greater, then we get the error. Okay, so I think that's a little bit too aggressive, because there are certainly times when we'll enter in invoice dates for a little bit in the future, like rent payments or something. So let's go back to parameters and let's add in a little bit of a buffer here. We'll say 30 days. 30 days, okay? So now we go back to the SQL, hit initialize, it adds in the 30 days for us, and just a slight change we have to do here, it brings in the value as a value, and we need this to come in as a function. So we're gonna take out these quotes here, and that's all we're gonna do. Save that, and now we're gonna take this USP AP Invoice Date validation procedure that we just made, and we're gonna apply it to this field. So come back to this field, hit F3, we go to our system overrides, we've got the validation information in this box here. Let's provide a warning, but allow it to be saved. So in the rare case that someone does need to enter an invoice 2 months down the road, then it can happen, but we want them to be really aware of what they're doing. Okay, so we hit compile to make sure it compiles successfully, and it does. It's good to go. Now we come back to the invoice date, go to our procedure, and there we have USP AP Invoice Date, and we hit OK. Now what we have to do is we have to put the parameters in there. Okay, so we have we created a parameter called @InvoiceDate, and it sounds like it relates to the invoice date, but we haven't really tied that parameter to that field yet. So that's what we're doing now. So come down here, find the field. There's the field. We'll hit the map button, and now it's linking that parameter that we just made up to the invoice date field. Done. We just have that one parameter. Good to go. Okay, we now hit apply. You must close and reload AP Unapproved entry. Okay, reloads the form for us. If I put in a date in the past, 010118, save it, no problem. If I enter in 010120, hit tab, invoice date error record will be saved. Okay, so we can save that, but it will give us that error every time. If I enter in 021519, February 15th, and save it, it's good to go. Today is February 3rd, 2019, so that one's fine. And that is all there is to it.